Today we're talking about one of the more popular rappers of the 2010s, 2 Chainz. Or rather, we're going over his story before he became 2 Chainz. Today most well known for dropping hit singles like Mercy with Kanye West, No Lie with Drake, and It's a Vibe with Ty Dolla $ign. 2 Chainz has definitely proven himself and has got a lot of respect in the game. But before all of this, he was just a boy from the hood, an only child. He was considered spoiled by his parents with the questionable moniker of Tity Boi. His early career aspirations included basketball, which he played in college before turning to rap and building a successful career out of it. Today's video covers all of his early story, from his upbringing to the origins of his name and how he became 2 Chainz. What up guys, Ali here and welcome to Ali Talks Music. Add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music as well. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now let's get into the video. Tity Boi was born around 1976 in College Park, Georgia. As an only child, he was raised primarily by his mother, as his father was in and out of prison throughout his childhood. Tity Boi's parents had a very awkward relationship. Tity Boi once said that he'd be on the phone with his father, then as soon as he put down the phone, his mother would complain about him and tell Tity Boi not to listen to his father. Despite her best efforts, Tity Boi was a born trapper and a product of his environment. This is what Tity Boi had to say about his upbringing. All I've ever known since I've touched foot on this earth is drugs or drug dealing. My father never got up and went to work, never clocked in, clocked out. He never was late coming home because he was in traffic or did overtime. Me and my mom have a very transparent relationship, so she knew from the time that I got into the game, and she accepted me for what it was. I'm an only child. I don't have any siblings. I don't really have best friends. I never really had somebody that I considered a role model, you know, except for the drug dealing persona. That itself was something that I wanted to participate in. Unfortunately, drugs were a consistent presence in Tity Boi's life. He was constantly modeling negative behavior, and it did land him in trouble on more than one occasion. As mentioned earlier, Tity Boi was very close with his mother, and this closeness earned him the moniker Tity Boi. Tity Boi said, "The name Tity Boi actually came from my big mama, from me being spoiled and an only child, breastfed. My mama called me Tity Boi. My dad called me Tity Man. My hood called me Tit. So when we was trying to rap, I had been going by Tit my whole life. Tit, Titty, Tity Man." It's just like a country nickname term for being an only child. Due to being an only child and his father regularly in prison, Tity Boi felt like he had to be the man of the house, and this led him to engage in trapping for real. By the time he was in grade 7, he had begun selling nicks out of the window of his house. This led to one of his first run-ins with the law, where he was actually responsible, although he was not held accountable this time.
And then when you start moving on your own, you actually feel like you grown, you're older, you're more mature. 7th grade, I started. This is out of my mom's home only. We lived in Pittsburgh, and she was allowing me to sell nicks out the window. You know what I'm saying? Just like, but after that, I started like being more careful about hustling and how I wanted to move. And I never saw me doing a resume or putting on a suit or actually working for somebody. So when I became a rapper, I know that this rap ain't gonna last forever. I know the money ain't gonna last forever. You wanna buy things. So I had to invest my money in something that I felt like was close to hustling and meet people. It's always about having important people in place too.
At the time, he was living in Pittsburgh when he saw a bunch of cars coming up the street, leading to the first and only time, according to him, that he froze and was scared. He couldn't even bring himself to speak, and about 60 seconds later, cops were busting through his door. Tity Boi was ridiculously tall for his age. As a result, the cops thought he was much older than he was, leading them to be more forceful than necessary. His mother went back and forth with the cops, but by the time the dust had settled, he had been separated from his mother and gone to stay with his cousins outside of College Park. Unfortunately, This was one of many times that he had drug busts in his home. He said the following: "I've been in about 4 different drug busts. My first one was probably when I was about 6, and I had another one when I was about 12. And then I had another one when I was 15. The police come in your house. They violate you. They destroy everything. It's hard to even go back into these places once your house has been busted." Despite his chaotic home life, Tity Boi was still focused on school. He was a naturally skilled basketball player and loved the game and thought it would one day lead to a scholarship. He attended North Clayton High School, and while there, he befriended Earl Conyers, who would later form part of a hip-hop duo with him called Playaz Circle.
If I don't do nothing, I'm about. I'm counting all day like the clock on the wall.
Unfortunately, despite his best efforts though, he was still young and still felt that pressure to help take care of his mama by any means necessary, leading to him not making very smart choices. He continued to sell contraband at school with his mother's knowledge and permission. Thursday night, I'm at the crib, getting some nicks together to sell at school. So my mama say, "You gonna take all them sacks to school tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Friday." He and his friends would split the cost of a pack and take turns playing basketball and trapping on the streets. For a long time, this arrangement seemed to work. He went to school, excelled at basketball, and hustled in the streets in the afternoon. He had his eyes set on a scholarship and plenty of D1 colleges reaching out to him, coming to his games, and giving him stacks of letters. But one Friday, he flew too close to the sun. He had been facing pressure from his coaches and friends to take the SAT, and he kept pushing it off, generally being cocky and claiming that he would ace the test. The day before he had to write it, he had loaded up his bag as usual and completed his normal hustle. Little did he know that later that same day, one of the friends he had sold to would get caught smoking at school and consequently leading the authorities directly to Tity Boi. He was then locked up on the Friday, which led to him missing the test entirely, which had been scheduled for Saturday. On Monday, Tity Boi went back to school and learned one of the hardest lessons of his life. When coaches asked him how the test went, he lied through his teeth, telling them that he had done well, while in his head he realized that he messed up and was probably not going to play basketball professionally. He was half right. As soon as word got out about the arrest, all the colleges stopped sending him letters and going to his games. After this, Tity began cleaning up his act, or at least keeping his shadier activities out of the spotlight. He reapplied himself to school, and in the meantime he began to take the words of his friends to heart. Tity had never considered himself to be a rapper, but like most kids, he would partake in freestyle rap battles at school, and eventually he began to develop a good reputation. His skills were easily recognizable, and even without a whole lot of practice, and before long, people were asking him when he was going to get into a studio and put down a mixtape. Tity would consistently say that he had no interest in that he preferred to sell his merchandise at the car wash up the road from his high school. But after a while, all his friends were saying the same thing. "Tity Boi, you gotta do this." And those words began to take root in his mind. Now, after being caught in an incident at school, Tity Boi was pushed towards a path that diminished his love for basketball. Despite the setback, he did receive a scholarship from Alabama State University. He attended the university around 1995, but soon regretted his decision, especially after the coaches who recruited him were fired. The relationship with his new coach soured quickly, ultimately leading Tity Boi to lose his passion for basketball entirely. After flipping that last check from school, Tity Boi was finally ready to recognize his other God-given talent, rap. He linked up again with his high school friend, Earl Conyers, who now went by the moniker Dollar Boy or Dylan Sachs. The pair then formed the duo Playaz Circle around 1997.
Yeah!
Yeah. It's Tity the city, it's College Park, we hard. Leaving in Eastwick, Zone 3, 4th Ward. I'm off that marijuana, upstairs with Tigger Mama. And I guess it's just like that shawty. She don't know no better. She'll do anything for me, oh, she sweater. I have her on the drawing, drinking out the bottle. That's the best of both worlds without the J and the R.
The name of the crew was an acronym for preparing legal assets for years, from A to Z. It's a bit wordy, but what do I know? It took 5 years for Playaz Circle to scrape together enough money to independently drop an album. Their resources were scarce. However, they were getting a decent buzz around them on the local streets. Their first album came out around 2002 and was titled United We Stand, United We Fall.
I don't really care about being a millionaire, but driving the fastest cars or rocking the flyest gear.
Around this time, they met aspiring rapper Ludacris, who was working as a DJ at a local radio station and had moved into the apartment complex that they were staying in. As well as quickly forming a strong friendship, this proved to be a big break for the pair, because Ludacris would play their music on radio, gaining them more attention. Unfortunately, soon after, Playaz Circle was stalled when Tity Boi was shot and Dollar was incarcerated, leading the group to go into a period of dormancy. Around this time, Luda had blown up properly to become one of the highest paid artists in the South and reached out to the pair to sign them to his budding, Disturbing the Peace label. While Tity Boi signed immediately, Dollar's mother had been ill and he waited for her to regain her health before signing to the imprint officially. They made one of their first public appearances as part of the imprint when they recorded the track Playpen to the State Pen from Golden Grain, the debut album of the imprint, which came out around 2002. Now Dollar was finally released and the pair dropped their debut single around 2007 called Duffel Bag Boy featuring Lil Wayne. Now this song was not just a hit, it was an anthem.
Here's a little story about some niggas like me. Never should have been let out the elementary. Dollar boy, and I like to say.
Now Dollar was finally released and the pair dropped their debut single around 2007 called Duffel Bag Boy featuring Lil Wayne.
If I don't do nothing, I'm about. I'm counting all day like the clock on the wall.
Now this song was not just a hit, it was an anthem, and Lil Wayne completely stole the show on this track. The song helped to break the pair through into the mainstream, becoming one of the most successful songs in their discography. It also earned them the nickname the Duffel Bag Boys. This single served as the lead single from their debut album, which came out around October of 2007 to mixed reviews.
If I got some music in my system, then it better not. It better not. It better not. It better not.
The second and last Playaz Circle album came out around 2009. It was called Flight 360, The Takeoff, and reached number 74 on the Billboard 200. The album spawned 3 singles, Stupid, Hold Up, and Can't Remember with Bobby V. None of these singles were successful on the charts. Frustrated with the poor performance of the Playaz Circle album, Tity Boi wanted to leave Disturbing the Peace and tried to advance his career on his own. Ludacris was originally against this idea, but ultimately accepted it after Tity Boi paid him. In Tity Boi's own words, he said the following: "I wanted to be my own boss. To me, I wasn't going anywhere. It had a glass ceiling, so I just wanted to get my own, start over from the ground up with the hustle." Now around 2011, Tity Boi left DTP and rebranded himself as 2 Chainz.
I am smoking on that gas. Life should be on Cinemax. Movie. Bought my boo bigger and a bigger.
The name change had multiple reasons. He wanted to be more family friendly because his name kept blanking out on the radio. He also wore 2 chains at school. He consistently rapped about money and jewelry. He was taking his second shot at making it independently. There are so many reasons, and the list goes on. I think the biggest reason he changed his name is because he wanted to break away from Ludacris' shadow and separate himself as a legend in his own right. The name change and the move proved to be correct. He went on to be more loved as 2 Chainz than Tity Boi. However, when he did rebrand himself as 2 Chainz, some people were not on board, like Hobson. Nevertheless, 2 Chainz is still doing his thing. He went on to be a father and got married to the mother of his children around 2018. 2 Chainz gets about 12.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and his most listened to songs are Giving Up, We Own It, It's a Vibe, X, and Champions. That's it from me, it's your boy Ali. What happened to Tity Boi in your opinion? Let me know down below. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.